Good afternoon. I'm Audra Merfeld Langston, Associate Professor of French, Chair of Arts, Languages, and Philosophy, and a past recipient of the Woman of the Year Award. Thank you for joining us for a tradition that began 24 years ago when we honored the first Woman of the Year. Over the past 2 decades, many remarkable women on our campus have received this award. I'm also delighted that we have expanded our recognition 4 years ago with the addition of the Dr. Elizabeth Cummins Women's Advocate Award, named for the first woman to chair an academic department at Missouri S&T. Both awards recognize members of our university community for their contributions to strengthening diversity, inclusion, and the role of women on our campus. Before we continue, I'd like to share the names of past honorees, beginning with our Woman of the Year Award winners. Elizabeth Cummins, Catherine Reardon, Paula Lutz, Susan Murray, Carol Ann Smith, Marisa Crow, Nuran Urkel, Francisca Oboekwinobe, Frances Montgomery, Christine Swenson, Jennifer Leopold, Melanie Mormile, Kate Drown, Kimberly Henthorne, Diana Ahmed, Irina Ivlieva, Barbara Hale, Shannon Fogg, Dan Lynn, Susanna Long, Audra Merfeld Langston, Catherine Northcutt, Kathleen Shepard, and Amber Hensley. I would also like to salute the past recipients of the Dr. Elizabeth Cummins Women's Advocate Award: Mary Riedmeyer, Meg Brady, Katie Shannon, and Marilee Krueger. Finally, I would like to thank the members of the Woman of the Year Committee for their service: Audra Merfeld Langston, Kathy Northcutt, Kathleen Shepard, Amber Hensley, Justin Pope, David Westenberg, and Jeff Caulfield. Now, to continue our program, I'm pleased to introduce Interim Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, Steve Roberts.
Greetings, and thank you for joining our celebration. The awards we present today recognize the exceptional leadership and service that make our campus a place where the talents of many thrive in an environment of opportunity for all. Since the first Woman of the Year award was presented 24 years ago, our university has changed a great deal. We are a more diverse campus, and we continue to evolve. Today, female students comprise 24% of our student body. This is quite a change from the old days of MSM and UMR. We have seen a shift in the faculty demographics as well. In 2000, only about 10% of our tenured and tenure-track faculty members were female. And 20 years later, we've more than doubled that. And now, over a quarter of our tenured and tenure-track faculty members are female. These gains are a welcome sign of progress, although there is still a tremendous amount of work to be done. Today's celebration spotlights the exemplary leaders who challenge us to be better, to dig deeper, and to embrace the strength in our differences. I'm pleased to introduce now the 2020 S&T Woman of the Year, Dr. Amber Hensley.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am deeply honored to receive the Woman of the Year award. Truly, I didn't expect to receive it, and it means a great deal to me to be recognized among such esteemed colleagues. And for all of this, I am very grateful. The current events of our time have been on my mind as I thought about what to say today. And I reflected on what I teach my students. We discuss that in a survey of the general public, mental illness, substance use, and homelessness are among the bottom 3 attributes a person can hold. I want you to stop and think about that. The worst attributes a person can hold is to be crazy, to be an addict, or to be poor. In our society, too many people believe it's worse to be poor or to struggle with mental health or substance use issues than it is to be a rapist or a murderer. The immense stigma that we continue to place on those who struggle with their well-being is astonishingly offensive and embarrassing. And to be clear, when I speak of well-being, I speak about physical, mental, social, and spiritual. By our continued stigma and discrimination against those who are marginalized and disenfranchised, we have failed to support the beautiful diversity of our fellow human beings. Last year, everything shut down due to COVID. Businesses closed or went online or changed to curbside pickup. If, like me, you're privileged enough, you might have had your groceries delivered to your doorstep or got takeout from restaurants. However, the individuals we counted on to get us through the shutdown were disproportionately Black and Indigenous people of color, especially women. Women, especially those with children, continue to struggle today as they work from home and simultaneously homeschool their children. Furthermore, women who are being abused struggle even more because they are shut in with the very person who abuses them. But we have a wonderful community here in Rolla. We have the Russell House, a nonprofit organization that provides services to those who've been affected by interpersonal violence, sexual assault, and stalking. In fact, we have many organizations devoted to helping marginalized and disenfranchised communities. For example, the Hope Alliance, which provides Friday food backpacks to Rolla public school children who are food insecure. The Mission, which provides a multitude of emergent and important services to those in need, including the homeless. The Prevention Consultants of Missouri, who, among many things, offer a mentoring program to Rolla school children. And the Community Partnership, another nonprofit organization that offers many services, including to teenage mothers. I haven't come close to listing the number of organizations that we have in our community that serve those in need, but I think it's important that you get to know them. It is incumbent upon us to recognize and help those in need, including our abused women and children, our BIPOC and LGBTQ+ communities, and those who are homeless. Too many members of marginalized groups have been disproportionately affected, and even more so during COVID. And so this is where I return to the issue of stigma. We internalize our own stigmas, and it works against us. It prevents us from reaching out, asking for help, talking about how we feel. And I want you to know that no matter how you feel, you are not alone. Whether you are struggling pre-pandemic or are struggling now, you are not alone. We're all struggling. We're dealing with depression, anxiety, isolation, and the physical ramifications of a more sedentary lifestyle with less social interactions and physical activities. And by we, I mean all of us. No one has gone unaffected by this pandemic. And so, what do? You have a community where you belong. Reach out. Reach out to help others and know that others are here to help you. You can get involved in your community. You can pack backpacks or volunteer at any organization you choose. And by helping others, you may find that you also help yourself. And most importantly, never give up hope, because you are valued, every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hensley, for those moving and important remarks. Next, we'll hear from our 2020 Dr. Elizabeth Cummins Women's Advocate Award winner, Dr. Marilee Krueger.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to start by saying thank you. When this award was given out, I was surprised and very honored to receive it. And so I would like to first and foremost start with that and to say thank you to this community for giving that recognition. So when I was asked to say a few words today, I started thinking about what does the word advocate really mean? And so I brainstormed on that a little bit, looked at the dictionary, and when to advocate for someone is that it's someone who publicly supports or recommends maybe a cause or a policy, but it can also be very small. It could be a small gesture that one makes. So you could be someone's supporter, you could be their champion, you could be someone who promotes, you could be their mentor. And so all of these words and all of advocating is part of my job. And John F. Kennedy said, "For those to whom much is given, much is required in return." And I take that to heart. I take that very, very seriously. I'm very privileged to have the position that I do, to be able to work daily with incredibly bright students and colleagues. But my job goes beyond being in a classroom with them. Certainly I need to teach them and I need to advise them and help them pick up their classes, but my job is also to advocate for them. And we have a relatively small department, our psychology department, and we get to know many, many of our students. So we have the privilege of knowing them very well. But my mentoring doesn't just stop there. I also teach a class sometimes of over 100 students who are very diverse majors throughout throughout campus. And I know how hard college can be. I know how difficult and challenging it is, especially right now. As Dr. Hensley mentioned, this whole idea of many of us are in a position where we are struggling. And so I look at my job as being able to provide them some help, maybe a little light at the end of that tunnel. So when I get to know my students or when I have an interaction with them, I like to remind them of what Mike Dooley, he's an author, an entrepreneur, motivational speaker. One thing he always says, and I like to remind my students of this, is that the one thing that anybody you might admire or is famous for is like a world-class athlete or a famous author or a chancellor or a provost. They all started the same way. Nobody started where they are now. And so everyone has that potential. Everyone has the ability, with some help, to get where they want to get. And just because you're starting from a different place doesn't negate you from that at all. So advocacy to me can be a bunch of different things. It could be a kind word. It could be just a gentle nudge. It could just be listening. I often say to my students, we're not very good at that. Listening is a dying art, I think. We're always so what we want to say and then get ready for the next point. And so any of these can be advocating. Sometimes that advocation is a loud roar on campus to let people know that you stand up for this person, but it doesn't have to be that bold or that dramatic. The world can use more advocates, however you define that word to look, especially now, especially with what's just happening in our country, the tiny expression of one voice and how much difference that has made. So we need to speak up. Those who do have voice need to speak up for those who don't, or whose voice is marginalized, or whose voices may be considered to be unimportant because of a group that they belong to. But I'm also reminded that not everyone is going to be as obvious that they need that person in their corner, that we not be aware of what perhaps is impacting them. For some, it's very obvious. Someone said to me once, everyone has something, whatever that looks like. Some, it's very obvious. They walk into a room and we know where their challenge or their struggle might lie. But not everybody does. So I always try to keep in mind and remember everybody has something. In leadership literature, they would refer to this as maybe a crucible, something in your life that has had a big impact on you, maybe very public or unseen. and it impacts every decision that you might make or every struggle that you might have. Howard Schultz, who some may know, was the founder of Starbucks. He vividly talks about a incident when he was a child where his father lost his job. And because of that, their family lost their health insurance and the incredible struggle that came as a result of that. So he, as the CEO of this company, has committed to offering health insurance to all of his workers, sometimes at his own peril. I mean, bottom line has been impacted by that. So keeping in mind and remembering, and that's what always I try to remember, is that we don't always know. People come to an event and they look all together and they look all like everything is okay, but they don't necessarily feel that way inside. So that's when we need to advocate and to advocate. So I try to remember that. I try to remember to give people a little grace as when I advocate for them. So when I talk to you today, I encourage you to look for the places where you can advocate. It doesn't have to be big. It could be just small. Again, it could just be that listening ear and just being, again, standing up. So in conclusion, I really want to thank this campus for taking the time to recognize and putting emphasis on people who do this kind of work. Certainly not why we do it, but it's a nice recognition. So thank this campus for doing that. We all need advocates, and I encourage you all to be that way. So thank you, and congratulations to those new people who will take the torch from here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hensley. Thank you for the inspiring words. It was really, really moving. Thank you very much. And Dr. Krueger, thank you. I was listening carefully. I love that statement by JFK that you mentioned. Thank you. Before I announce our 2021 honorees, I'd like to pause and recognize Cindy Tang for her financial support of these awards. Cindy graduated from Missouri S&T in 1985 with a bachelor's degree in economics and went on to found a successful software engineering company, Insight Industries. She received an honorary doctorate from S&T in 1998 and was honored among our 2011 alumni of influence. She is a Missouri S&T trustee emerita and a member of the Academy of Computer Science and Academy of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Thank you, Cindy, for making these awards possible. We'll begin with the Dr. Elizabeth Cummings Women's Advocate Award. Excuse me. Our honoree is an associate teaching professor who has served as an outstanding role model for young women in STEM since she arrived on campus in 1993. As a faculty member in the Department of Biological Sciences for more than 2 decades, she has inspired the students, colleagues, and countless young women in the region as she shared her love for biology and teaching. In her role at S&T, she has guided a number of graduate teaching assistants to successful academic careers as they watch and learn from her in the classroom. As one of our honorees' former teaching assistants wrote, she has an exuberant and enticing way of teaching students. She keeps the students engaged by telling relevant stories, showing props, and inviting students to ask questions. I remember watching her teach to prepare for my sections and filling up 2 pages of notes of fun facts about protists and microbes. You can tell that she thoroughly enjoys her job. A faculty colleague echoed these sentiments. She has a kind, disarming demeanor, and one that quickly puts the students at ease. Students feel very comfortable confiding with her about their problems and their struggles. Adjustment to college life and retention at the university in the freshman year are always a challenge, and the past year has been particularly challenging for our students. Her department chair says that this past year, the honoree knew the challenges the students face better than anyone in the department. She cares about their struggles and their stories and helped the dean's office reach out to assist the students in continuing their education. Her list of service projects is long, including starting a badge in a STEM for Rolla area Girl Scouts. With the help of S&T student organizations for many years, the program helped about 90 young women every year experience the STEM fields. Our honorees' organizational skills also helped launch the Expanding Your Horizon initiative that brings in junior high school women to campus to learn from women in STEM fields and participate in hands-on workshops. One nominator wrote, "She has been a champion for women students of all ages in her field of endeavor and an excellent role model." Our honoree earned her bachelor's and master's degree in biology from Southwest Missouri State University. She also helped improve science instructions in the region in biomedical sciences for many years through her work with Project Lead the Way. To conclude with the words of a colleague, looking at each of her contributions that support women on campus, I am convinced that she is the most deserving candidate. She has had a tremendous impact on female students on campus and in the community. It is my honor and privilege to announce the recipient of the 2021 Dr. Elizabeth Cummings Women's Advocate Award, Terry Wilson. As we speak, Dr. Katherine Northcott is presenting her with her award. I extend my personal congratulations to Professor Terry Wilson on a well-deserved award. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our 25th Women of the Year. This year's winner came to S&T in 2015 and has already become a role model for women in STEM on campus and one of the most dedicated mentors and instructors as an associate professor in Geological engineering program. The Geosciences and Geological and Petroleum Engineering Department Chair, Dr. David Broke, wrote that she has worked tirelessly to advance the participation of female students in science and engineering fields. And she serves as a strong example of female leadership on our campus. Her work on issues that affect women's lives and her willingness to speak out on such issues are closely intertwined with her teaching, mentoring, and outreach efforts. The honoree is an S&T alumna who earned her bachelor's degree in geological engineering in Rolla and then earned her master's degree and PhD from University of California, Berkeley. She began her career as a hydrologist at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory before joining academia as an assistant professor and associate professor at University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. The honorees students and teaching assistants heartily recommended her for the Woman of the Year award for her dedication to listening and learning about each student's career interests, goals, and struggles. She currently advises 34 undergraduate students, half of all geological engineering majors, and 57 online master's students. She is sought after as a mentor and role model for young women on campus because she tailors advice to each individual student. One graduate teaching assistant wrote, "It was her dedication in the classroom as a teacher and outside as a mentor that inspired my decision to join Geological engineering program as a graduate student. In all my interactions with her in various roles, it has become clear that she values the students above all. While she maintains a high standard for the coursework she expects from the students, she also expresses a great deal of empathy and flexibility, especially considering the challenges that the pandemic has created for both faculty and students." Another student wrote, I have heard from several peers how she has helped them navigate personal decisions and how they felt heard and understood. No matter the student, whether they be from a non-traditional, traditional, LGBTQ, international, or different socioeconomic background as her, she finds a way to connect with them. Our honoree also finds time to mentor and support colleagues in the department. One colleague who she mentored wrote that she helped me orient myself, answering question after question about how to balance the various responsibilities of tenure-track professors, including research, teaching, and service, and how to manage the high level of stress I was experiencing. Her open nature allowed me to feel comfortable approaching her with any challenging issues I had. Our honoree is a renowned scientist known for her work using ground penetration radar to estimate soil moisture. She also serves the scientific community as a prolific journal reviewer, editor, and with several leadership roles in the Environmental and Engineering Geophysics Society. She has also taken a leading S&T summer camp for young girls the last several years, encouraging them to pursue science education. One final thought from a student. More than anything else, she supports women by being willing to listen to them. I and many fellow women in the Geological Engineering department often went to her for advice because we knew she would listen to our passions and goals for our careers in engineering. She did not provide the same advice and recommendation to each woman, but truly listened to learn what we were looking for in our education and ultimately our careers. Please join me in congratulating our 2021 Women of the Year, Dr. Catherine Grody. Dr. Grody is currently receiving her award from Kathleen Shepard. Thank you very much for all that you do.
Congratulations to Terry Wilson and Catherine Grody, this year's award winners. Thank you for joining us to honor these two remarkable faculty members and the many women our university has recognized over the past 24 years. Our awards ceremony will be available on the S&T YouTube channel for anyone who missed it or would like to watch it again. Thank you and have a good afternoon.